Welcome to the NBA Coast to Coast podcast brought to you by thelines.com. Coming to you out here on the West Coast, Josh Lander and the newly shaven Nate Weitzer there on the East Coast with us. We are going to be looking at some best bets in this video here on Tuesday with a 7-game slate here that we've got for you guys. Also have play of props up as well for you so that we do have those each and every weekday. So make sure to like and subscribe to that page to continue to follow along with us all season. Also head to thelines.com and use everything we have up on the site right now, including that prop finder tool we tell you about all the time to make sure that you're getting the best odds from all of these books that are giving us these bets this NBA season. Nate, let's go ahead and run right into your first pick on this 7-game slate here on Tuesday.
Josh, do you ever wish you could just bet on the Knicks without any fanfare or huge spreads or concerns about things happening? Well, just take Precious Achiuwa and Josh Hart to get 8 rebounds and the Knicks to win this game. I mean, if your book allows it, do an adjusted spread. They're playing the Grizzlies. They're minus 14.5. I'm fine cutting that in half probably and just going like 7.5. I saw FanDuel does not allow the adjusted spread with these parlays, but the point is those guys are both looking at 40-plus minutes every single time out. The Memphis Grizzlies with their G League squad, 12 to 13 guys ruled out, I believe, will be the situation, are going to give up a ton of missed shots and rebounds. And so, yeah, you look at Precious. He just played 42 minutes, had 8 offensive and 8 defensive rebounds. He's probably looking at 40-plus again. He averages 14.5 rebounds per 100 possessions on the season. His career, he has a 22% defensive rebounding rate. Josh Hart, the rebound god, as we know, 4 straight with double digits, 40 minutes per game, 11 rebounds per game since OG went down. OG, Grimes, and Randall are all out tonight. Hartenstein still, they'd like to get him a little bit of rest when they can, right? He's still a little bit hobbled. He's also just fantastic boxing people out and letting everybody else clean up, right? He's already top 6 in box outs per game, even though he was a part-time player early in the season. So, look for Precious and Hart to just lap up rebounds. In their last 3, the Grizzlies giving up the 3rd most defensive rebounds on the season. They have the 5th highest defensive rebounding rate for their opponents, which is not your typical grit and grind Grizz. And on the road, they allow 2 more offensive rebounds per game, 11.3, also way below average. Just allowed 17 offensive rebounding to a bad offensive rebounding team in the Celtics. And I guess they're about average, but the Knicks is the point number 1 with a bullet in offensive rebounds, including 36% of available OREBs. Their last 3, they should just eat glass tonight.
It's one of my favorite weeks of the year, I believe, trade deadline week. And the LeBron James to New York Knicks rumors are a-swirling because of the amazing rebounding that has come through this team without Mitchell Robinson on the floor. You were talking about offensive rebounds for the Knicks, and I was about to be like, whoa, are you looking at those numbers from when the best offensive rebounder in the league was on the floor in Mitchell Robinson? And you were like, no, this is the last 3 games and the last 10 games. Isaiah Hartenstein, man, there's a reason he's playing 36.5 minutes, but he is a little bit more hobbled to your point. And then when you're talking about this matchup here, it's open for whomever wants it. Are you a center? Are you a power forward? Are you just someone who can gobble up rebounds around the rim? And if the answer is yes, then you shall eat against this Hornets team. So I would concur that Josh Hart, 6'4" power forward, will still get that time. And then Precious has come in and done a really good job in that sort of starter minutes, but then not get starter minutes, but get starter role initially and then come out a little bit here and there, but come back in. I like all of it for both of these guys.
And by the way, that's just to get to even money. If you want to add Precious 10 points or Jalen to at least get 20, you can start getting in plus money here or the adjusted spread. But just the money line with those 2 is even money.
Yeah, that's good stuff. So let me go to a game that we're both talking about here. And I had this pinned as a potential over, and it kept dropping. But that's OKC in Utah here. And I'm taking the over, which is down to 240.5. It opened at 246.5. That definitely was kind of high. But at the same time, I wasn't ready to hit an over on that. 6.5 points now. The tables have turned too much for me to ignore it at this point. Really, it's just a matter of both of these teams matching up against each other and kind of dominating spots where the other one is weakest, to be honest, right? So what I have here for my main pieces of key info for them are points off of turnovers, right? Fast break, that kind of stuff. That's what the OKC is dominating. They're 3rd right now in fast break points. They're 3rd as well in points off of turnovers. And so I'm sorry, they're eighth in fast break points. That eight looked like a three. But they are still in the top 10 in both of those, and that's a huge problem for Utah. They're not getting back on defense even at home, where they're still giving up a decent amount of points, even though they're better on defense at home, only because they're insanely bad on the road. We know about their splits, and now we get them at home, where the pace remains up around 102, and that's exactly what the Thunder want to play at. So if you're not going to get back on D and you're not going to stop the turnovers, then how are you going to hang with the Thunder? Well, you're just going to keep pounding the crap out of them down low. It's really that simple. The Jazz have just been going to the rim at an incredible rate. They gobble up rebounds at an incredible rate, like the second best rebounding team, if not the best rebounding team in the league, to be honest, overall, when you look at all the metrics. But yeah, that's going to be a problem, is those second chance points. We're talking about a team that is first in the amount of second chance points they get per game for the Jazz, and a team that is 29th in limiting them because of their defensive rebounding and their inability to do that. God love Chet. Like, this is just not a great spot for him. So, you know, I like John Collins' rebounds in this one as well. I'm still like the Jazz are a wonderful upstart team. I don't know how much I love this situation for them, because I do think that there's the possibility that they get, if they're going to try to play the fast break game, which they like to do, the Thunder are just better at it. Now, the Thunder also need Jalen Williams in there. That's a huge part of this. But I will also say Kason Wallace not being in there is a huge deal. He's a huge part of that defense when he's out there, and the points off of turnovers and the ball hawking that he plays. He's questionable, as is Jalen Williams. Both Jalen Williamses are questionable. And honestly, that does help the defensive end for the Thunder. But I would like Jalen Williams without the Y to play for the offense as well as the second banana. Not positive if he's going to be in there. I do think they care about a division game like this, so I would imagine that they're trying to bring it. But either way, like this is a tailor-made matchup for points, because of the fact that the Jazz don't stop fast break points, the Thunder don't stop down low. So it's just what the other team is going to have their way with in their particular area of the game that they excel at.
Yeah, I mean, you had me at Jazz at home, but I mean, I love the Thunder being a team you can count on coming along for the ride. Like, they're competitive in every single game. Like, it doesn't matter if you want to play a high scoring fast break game, if you want to slow it down with the Timberwolves, it's like they will match your style. Shea being like the ultimate chameleon. And J-Dub, yeah, it seems like he is targeting this game to return. Like, he's finally upgraded to questionable. He's ruled out way ahead of the other ones. He's killed the Jazz. Like, that's the thing here. 27 points. He was a plus 16 when they were able to beat the Jazz just a couple weeks ago in Utah at a 104 pace. Game totaled 263. And Shai didn't even do that well from the floor, but he got 17 free throws. There were 64 combined free throws. There were 120 combined paint points. And that's like the only thing this Jazz team does well, right? Is try to keep you out of the paint. Apparently they could not. I mean, I don't know if Walker Kessler can stay on the floor against this team, like against Chet, too versatile for him.
Right.
You do love to see J-Dub come back. They went over in 6 of their last 7 roadies when they had him, averaged 125 a game with great splits. The thing is, if he doesn't come back, like, that just means their defense is a little bit worse too, though. Like, and Utah at home, 129 over their last 12 games. So, like I said, like, if you trust OKC to be competitive one way or another, this 3-point spread, they should come along for the ride and make this high scoring.
Yeah, for sure. Let me close it out with one more for us here, since I know we're both all over this game, and I do like Phoenix at 3.5. I feel like I'm missing something almost, to be honest with you. I'm a little bit down on Glenn Rivers Rockets, Glenn Rivers Bucks here as they try to turn things around, I suppose. But a couple of the main things I'm looking for here for Phoenix is really just, it's mostly the wing, and Brolo is questionable. So is Dame. I think Dame will play. He was questionable before last game and still played like 30 plus minutes. I think 32 in that loss to the Jazz. He was still out there in the fourth quarter trying to help them come back as they gave up a lead. So I would expect him to play, but the Brolo absence could be a big deal. I would say it's a huge deal, and it's a big deal for a couple of reasons. Like, you don't really need Walker Kessler quite as much. Now, I expect him, or not Walker Kessler, excuse me. You don't need to worry about Nurk banging down low quite as much, is what I was trying to say, because Nurkic is the center for the Phoenix Suns. But at the same time, like, Brolo being in there pulled him away from the basket. That was the biggest thing, right? And so now you can probably keep him in there a bit more to help out with Giannis and not worry about being pulled from the basket by a guy like Bobby Portis, because Bobby's going out, to the corner three sometimes, but for the most part, he's down on the baseline and near the block, playing that more traditional like 4 role, if you will. And that's where Nurk will live. He'll be able to match up in that way with Bobby Portis way better, in my opinion, than Brook Lopez, with the way that he, you don't really want Nurk having to step too far outside the foul line fine when he's on defense. Although he's been much better this year with his individual defensive rating than he has in seasons past with the Portland Trailblazers. So, but yeah, it's the wing problem here as well. Like if you're able to shoot from above the break or out on the wing against this Milwaukee team, you are going to be in luck. If you can get out into transition, which doesn't necessarily even mean that you're just trying to fast break. It really just means even on a made basket, you're getting it and keeping the tempo up. And I think we will see that. I considered an over in this one as well. It's very high. Again, as always, about 242.5. And bet down, honestly, as well, from the 246.5, I believe, that it opened at for the total. So some points going down with the offense being a bit more stagnant for Milwaukee as of late. And if Dame isn't in there, in addition to Brolo, which Brolo doesn't seem like he's going to play, he had a personal reason for not playing in the last game, so I'm not sure if that's changed. They're still on the road, far away from Milwaukee. It doesn't seem like he would just go back to the road to come play ball when he just wasn't there a couple of days ago. With all that said, like I would say that if one of those guys is ruled out, this goes up right to like closer to 5.5, and I'd rather keep it under 5 points in this one. The way that they played, it's not, there haven't been too many matchups with this iteration of either team, obviously. And now that we do have Bradley Beal back, we've got all three of those guys playing together. Their lineup on the floor has been absolutely bananas. The three-man lineup is just outscoring you, and it's just a rocket ship, man. Like you really, it's been a difficult for teams to defend the three when those three guys are on the court together. And Nurk has eaten as a result as well, and just gotten some wide open little bunnies down low. So I'm all over the like. I just think this should already be at like 6.5. So I'm going to take it at 3.5.
Yeah, I like Nurk a lot if Brolo sits for the reasons you outlined. Also, yeah, I mean he's just been gobbling up boards and being fitting in really well along with this big three, which is just like they've hit their stride, especially in the fourth quarter. And Milwaukee is far from it. Like it reminds me of the Clippers when they got Harden, 5 straight losses and just couldn't do anything down the stretch. Yeah. Like when you're integrating a new coaching staff on the fly in the middle of the season on the road, on a long road trip, like it is really tough to pull this off. And then, yeah, you get two of their most essential players questionable. You get Giannis and matching up with a good defensive coach in Frank Vogel, who has done some things to mess him up in the past. Definitely like the Suns. Yeah.
I had to chuckle when you were talking about preparing for Doc Rivers' new schemes. As the Celtics fan, I'm sure you remember those really complex after the timeout plays that Doc Rivers would call for the Celtics. But anyway, we move on. That's all time we have for you with best bets. We've also got play up props up in another video, so make sure you are subscribed to that page. Continue to follow along until we see you next. Happy betting.